Good evening, everybody. I will kick off this webinar. I've started recording the session, so you're all aware. We will send out the link to this recording in the coming days so that you can watch it back on demand, or if anyone is not able to join for the whole session or couldn't join for the session at all. My name is Alexandra Tidy, and welcome to our webinar, Get Hired and Get Ahead, Insider Tips for Job Seekers. It's great to have you here with us today, and we've scheduled 30 minutes for this session. We'll have time for questions at the end as well. So whether you're looking for a change in career or a new job, this webinar will provide practical tools for you to use in your job search. It's hosted today by Odette Morris-Hill and Joe Walton from our Drake New Zealand team. Before I hand over to Odette, just a few housekeeping items. There is a chat function at the top of your screen for any questions you have throughout the session, which we can then answer at the end. And again, as I said, we're recording this session so that we can send the recorded link to you in the coming days. Thank you to both you, Odette and Joe, for facilitating this session for us this evening, and over to you.
Thank you, Alexandra. What a lovely introduction. So hi, everybody. I'm Odette Morris-Hill. I've worked for Drake for just over 8 years, and I've been in the recruitment industry for the last 18, so I'm showing my age there. I'm based in Auckland, but I also work with other branches around the country on a variety of different recruitment projects, which I absolutely love. During my time in the industry, I've been fortunate to have recruited for both blue and white collar sectors for a wide range of companies and industries. So I like to think I know what I'm talking about when it comes to CVs and interviews. And next, Jo's going to tell you a bit about her background.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Jo Walton. I have just over 6 years experience as a recruitment consultant, have been 2 years here at Drake Recruitment, specialising in permanent and temporary recruitment, so placing operations, admin, sales, marketing, customer service, accounting and finance roles, working with both clients on urgent and long-term needs and managing a candidate base of temporary staff at all levels. I've also worked at a variety of industries, so including technology, digital, hospitality, travel, and industrial and white collar roles. So I look forward to talking further about our experience.
Fantastic. You've been a busy lady, Jo. Awesome. So get hired and get ahead. Insider tips for job seekers. We would like to talk through some of the different stages that you go through in the process through that job application journey, from prepping your CV to acing that interview. So the points that we're going to cover in this agenda. So about Drake New Zealand, of course, we'd like to tell you about ourselves and how we can help you with that job search journey. Next, about your CV. So some points and tips and tricks and how to really make that shine to potential hiring managers. Looking for work, where to start. You know, some people might not have gone through this process before, so let's help you to make that start. Job search tips. So, you know, some ways that you can actually hone that search and make sure that you're in the right area to be finding the right roles that you're looking for, and some interview tips. So when you do get that interview, to make sure that you go in there and just absolutely smash it. So firstly, talking about Drake New Zealand. So for those of you who don't know, Drake's actually been in New Zealand for almost 52 years and internationally for almost 72. So we're extremely proud of our legacy in both international and in the New Zealand market. We work with a variety of companies and industries, and we do both temporary and permanent recruitment. So we can help you with job opportunities based on your skill level and experience. In a nutshell, our focus is helping to match our candidates with the right roles and the right companies. And for our clients, we're here to find them the right staff for their businesses. So let's start with your CV. This is one very powerful document and has the potential to make or break your job search process. Make sure that you invest time into getting that CV right, because everything else in the process follows on from that initial CV presentation stage. You want your CV to demonstrate who you are as a person and what you've done in your career to any prospective employer. It's there to tell a story for you. Make sure it's the right story to tell. Here's a short clip with some further thoughts about tailoring your CV to fit the jobs that you're applying for. Thank you, Jo. Fantastic. So some great little tips in there, and we actually have all this information is available on our Drake New Zealand website, so we can certainly direct you to that to be able to utilise these tools in your process. So next, your CV. So some food for thought about your CV and some tips and tricks from us on what we notice, pay attention to. So firstly, please make sure that your email address is a professional one. If you don't have a professional email address, make a new one. I could definitely tell you some stories about some interesting email addresses that I've seen on CVs. And believe me, you don't want to be that person that's remembered as the one who had the funny email address. First name dot last name is perfect if you can get it, or at least something similar. No nicknames, inside jokes, etc. It's just not going to make sense to the hiring manager, and you want to be able to present that professional impression from the start. So use a CV writing template. So it just so happens that we have one that can help you to do that. So again, we have that available on the Drake New Zealand website, and Alexandra is going to kindly insert that in the chat for us so you can access that and other tools through the website. Tell your story. Let your CV be authentically you. Again, this document is going to be your first impression to your potential hiring managers. Make sure it reflects who you are. So even if you use a template or you use somebody else's CV as a bit of a guide, make sure that you're tailoring that CV to represent you, because you're an individual, not like anybody else. Keep it simple and factual. Bullet points are your friends. Personally, I find it really challenging to read through long paragraph after long paragraph of someone's role responsibilities. Summarizing these bullets makes the CV look a lot more pleasant to read, and it means that I pay attention to, more fine details within that CV. Highlight your achievements. You've worked hard on those, showcase them properly, and make sure that you talk about them when you're in your interviews or you're at that screening stage with a potential hiring manager. Make sure your dates are correct. So go through and make sure that your end dates and start dates are all marrying up. So we as recruiters, we're sort of trained to see gaps within a CV. So if we see a gap, where there's nothing, you've sort of finished a role and then you didn't start the next role for 6 months or a year, we're going to ask you about what you were doing in that time. And, you might have a wonderful story to tell us there, but be prepared to answer those questions if there are gaps in that CV. Check your spelling and grammar. I'm a real stickler for spelling and grammar, so I can spot these errors from a mile away, and they don't give a great first impression about your attention to detail. My favourite is when people have attention to detail as a skill in their CV, but then it's full of spelling and grammatical errors. So don't be that person. Spell check is a wonderful tool. Make sure that you use it before you finalise your CV. And lastly, customise your cover letter. I cannot tell you the number of times that I see Dear Mr. Morris Hill or Dear Sir Madam. Again, for me, it demonstrates that you haven't put a lot of time or attention into your application. It only takes a few minutes to change that cover letter to the name of the person that you're sending it to, and also change the job title that you're referring to within your cover letter or cover email. I actually pay special extra attention to a personalised cover letter that's correctly addressed to me, and bonus points for mentioning the skills and experience criteria that I wrote in the ad in relation to your own skills and criteria. That is attention to detail in my book. CV template. Again, we have the links to these on our website, and you can, take advantage of these and other tools for job seekers on there. It gives you a lot of great resource to utilise during that journey. And again, Alexandra will drop that in the chat for us that you can access. What does my next job look like? It's very, very useful for us as recruiters when the person that we're working with, the candidate that we're working with, has actually thought about the role that they're looking for. Because if, when people come in and see us and they just don't have a clue, of course we're going to try to help them as much as we can. But it's a little bit harder for us to really have a clear idea of your next step if you don't know what that next step looks like. So take the time before you start that process to understand and decide on what that next job looks like. So is it temporary? Is it fixed term? Is it permanent? So understand the difference between those, and I can just sort of cover those really quickly for you. So temp and fixed term positions, generally they're available immediately, so you can start, like the next day or in a couple of days. For those who are really keen to get into work ASAP, who are keen to start earning money ASAP, that perfect situation. We at Drake will absolutely love to help you with to be able to facilitate into permanent. Permanent also, but temporary and fixed term roles. Generally, temp and fixed term roles are for a certain time frame. So, if you have something that you've, a future plan or, holiday or anything like that, that you're only available for a certain period of time, temping is perfect because you can say, look, I'm available, for the next 3 months. Keep me busy for 3 months and then I'm off on my OE or whatever that looks like. Temping is absolutely perfect for that. You can also gain some experience within different roles in different companies. What we're seeing in this job market more than ever is that our clients are willing to offer training for people within temp positions. So it's a wonderful way to upskill. It's a wonderful way to get some experience that can put you on that ladder for the next step in your career. Expand your networks. Sometimes, there are big companies that we work with from a temporary perspective that, we can get somebody in to start a temporary position, within a day or two. Whereas on the permanent side of things, there's a lot of hoops to jump through and that process can take quite a long time. So getting into some of these big companies as a temporary staff member and being able to give that wonderful first impression can potentially lead to future opportunities. So definitely a wonderful thing to think about. Utilizing temping as a stopgap so you can take the time to find the right permanent role. You don't want to find yourself in a scenario where you desperately accept any permanent position just because it's there and available. Temping is the perfect solution for that scenario if you're keen to get started with work ASAP. Talk to your consultant about that and be upfront, and then we can absolutely facilitate that process for you for a temporary position while we help you search for that correct, perfect permanent role for your next step. On the permanent side of things, so obviously this is longer term, there's no end date. There's more job security. So, if you wanted to buy a house, you're able to facilitate getting a mortgage, etc., a lot easier with a permanent position. Generally, there's more training opportunities for future growth and development. And it's really a career step rather than just a job if you make sure that you're choosing the right one. Part-time or full-time, that's pretty self-explanatory. How is this role going to fit around your life? Are you available Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, or do you have something that you need to do, until 10 o'clock every morning? So do you need to maybe start work at 11 o'clock? What does that look like? Again, if you've got that idea clear in your head and that's something that you're communicating to us as your consultants, again, we can just much more efficiently find the right next step for you from a role perspective. Where do I want to work? How far am I willing to travel? Let's not forget Auckland traffic during rush hour is horrendous and it feels like it gets worse, every day sometimes. Be realistic. Like maybe you're used to traveling across Auckland in a non-peak hour time and you haven't experienced a peak hour and you said, oh, that's fine, I'll travel from, the North Shore to East Tamaki, no problem. Well, I tell you, as having done that myself before, it's not pleasant. So unless you're starting really early in the morning or doing a night shift, it's be realistic about that travel time frame because that sitting in traffic is not anyone's favourite thing to do. What type of job do I want to do and in what industry? Again, sort of make that opportunity work for you, make it align with your own personal interests and industry experience, etc., etc. Be clear about what it is that you want as the next step. What are my career goals? And are the jobs that I'm applying for going to align with these career goals? If the answer is no, then you need to rethink the roles that you're applying for because you want to make sure that that next step is going to align with your overall long-term career plans. And your Drake consultants are experts in the recruitment space, and we love nothing more than helping anyone to find the right next step in their career. So all you need to do is give us a call. That is exactly what we're here for, and we love doing that. So next I'll hand over to Jo and she can cover the next slides for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Odette. And so continuing on from Odette, and now that we know what type of job you're looking for, is where do we look for these jobs? So there are a variety of places where you can start your job search. And of course, as Odette mentioned, talking to your local Drake consultant to discuss what jobs that we have available, but also searching all the different job boards that are out there. So we utilize Seek and Trade Me for advertising our jobs. So those are always a good start to see what's out there on the market. Local community newspapers and online notice boards are a good option, as well as social media. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok are all being used to create different job campaigns and to attract staff as well. So those are good places and different places to find jobs and get quick information from as well. We are seeing more and more companies advertising on site, billboards and signage outside of their companies as well. So keeping aware of when you're driving or visiting different businesses, there may be hiring signs out the front, and going in and just having a chat and dropping off your CV is still a good way. Most of the job sites do have a sign up your job alerts. So yeah, signing up for these job alerts will send you job advertisements straight away. So, the criteria that you pick, you'll get an email straight to your email address as soon as they're posted. So, depending on timing, sometimes it's a timing thing, depending on how fast the recruitment process is going. So, if you're receiving these ads immediately, it is a good way to kind of keep up to date with what's being posted right away. So this is just a short video on the keys to job hunting success. So I'll play that first. So this is a mindset thing. So focus, attitude, preparation, strategy, and follow through. So to get what you want, you have to know what you want. So you do need to focus, you need to have the right attitude, and you need to prepare and plan and know what you're looking for. So having a workable strategy and a follow through is really important. Job offers often go to applicants who take the initiative to make a phone call and to express their interest in a position. Just needs to be a short phone call just to let them know that you've seen it, and just a little bit about yourself. And it does keep the recruiter or whoever it is on the top of mind, especially when we're going through hundreds of applications. So job search tips. So expect to be Googled is a big one. So some things to keep in mind is manage your online reputation. So most people these days do have some sort of online presence, and there's always, there's a good chance that there's information about you online and it stays online. So Google yourself is a good first step. See what others see. So search your name, consider the results. Does it paint an accurate picture of who you are, and do you want your future boss to see this? This can be managed by checking privacy settings. So go through all your apps and see how your privacy settings are set. You can log out of the apps and see what it looks like when you search your social media. So do social media checks and use your networks. So on social media like LinkedIn, making sure that you're checking spelling and grammar, but use it to your advantage, the social media as well. So write informative bios about yourself, explain your roles and responsibilities, share links of articles or sharing content that you enjoy, but also connecting with people within that industry. Sometimes it's all about who you know and who you come across in that time. So moving on to more interview tips. So preparing for your interview, we recommend do your research. So be ready in case they ask you what you know about them. Check out their website, know their mission and values, read the job description, but also know who's interviewing you. Often, you get an HR person interviewing you for the first interview, or it could be a direct reporting manager. So know all the names and know that information. On the next slide, we will talk about the interview questions. But also you want to prepare your own questions for the interview as well. So what do you need to know about the role? Is it going to be a fit for you as much as it's going to be a fit for them? So have those questions prepared for yourself. Be on time, so not too early. 5 to 10 minutes is perfect timing usually, but also know parking situation, know the traffic time, know exactly where you're going, so you don't feel rushed, or you don't feel like you're going to be late. Another thing is just presenting yourself. So behave, speak, and dress professionally. Would you hire yourself? Present put your best foot forward is what we recommend. And also talk about your biggest achievements. So what are you proud of? Talk about your career and what you've been really proud of in that time in your work. Cool. So interview questions to prepare for. So skills and experience. So tell me about you. So talk about key skills and experience that's relevant to the position. Tell us your brief story. So about 1 to 2 minutes, explanation of your current situation, how do roles come about, why did you leave certain roles, and really talk about what you've gained over your time and over your career. Strengths. So, talk about what you think you're really good at, what makes you stand out, and what do you enjoy. The type of different responsibilities or tasks that you enjoyed throughout your day is all key strengths. What areas to improve on? So this is a question that people tend to struggle on, and a lot of people tend to say there's nothing that they need to improve on, but I think having the perspective of there's no limit to learning, and making it a good thing, turning it around and talk about things that you want to upskill in and want to get better at is a good way to answer that question. How do you like to be managed? So how do you like to be managed in regards to a manager? What type of manager gets the best from you? What is their style, and how do you respond best to the certain management style? Thinking of a manager in the past that you've worked well with before, what were they like, and how did that work well? And then the last one is why do you want this job? And people get stuck on that. Really, what is it about this role that you liked about it, and why did you apply? Is a really important one. So finishing off is what we as recruiters look for, and we did touch on a little bit of this, but it's as recruiters we look for the right fit for both our candidates and our clients. So it's got to be right on both ends. So you be authentic and be you is the most important thing. Using a CV template to make it sound like you, and be honest. Be proud of your achievements and what you're writing on there. And use terminology, language and wording that you would use yourself, that sounds like you. So it needs to, come from you and not just be a standard template. You want a company to hire you for being you and what they see on your CV. In recent times, in regards to longevity in roles, dates are important. COVID has changed that slightly, but showing that you are able to stay in a role is really a good key as well. Keywords that match the role you're applying for. So, taking that from job descriptions or adverts and putting that in your CV is really great. Be clear about what you're looking for, is what we spoke about before, and just have that focus in mind. Knowing what you're looking for, so what's going to tick those boxes: position, location, full-time, career growth, all of that. And personalized cover letters and emails, and what Odette spoke about as well. So just those are the main things that really stand out to us, and what we do look for in regards to CVs. The last one would be only detailed responsibilities for jobs in the last 10 years. Anything prior probably isn't relevant to what we're looking at at this time. So I think that takes us to the end of our presentation. So if anyone has any questions. And I think you can put it in the chat.
No questions. Phew.
There's one hand raised.
Yes, please.
If you want to write it in the chat, that's the easiest way to ask the question. Otherwise, I will go ahead and unmute you, and then you can ask it. You can unmute yourself now if you'd like to ask the question. Otherwise, please do write it in the chat. I see one question in the chat. Yep, Odette, go ahead.
Great. So Francis, you've asked, what if you've held multiple part-time jobs where dates overlap? That's not a problem at all, and you can certainly you can, I guess, give some detail about that in your CV to demonstrate that that the role was part-time, and that you were doing 2 or 3 or whatever number of part-time roles in conjunction with each other. Yeah, I personally, if I saw that from a person, that would show me that that person was really good at time management, was really great at being able to juggle and make sure that they were showing up for both opportunities, and is a really hard worker. So no, that's to me, that's a great thing. And I think, so the next question we've got from Verna. So Verna, jobs on websites don't have a person to address the cover letter to. Absolutely. I know that there are some job posters out there that like to be very secretive, and they don't want people to know who they are, and that's fine. I would personally, if you're asking about how you would address potentially a cover letter, I would make that address to be, something a bit more generic, to whom it may concern, or something like that. But again, if you were to make that part generic, because you actually don't have the information about who that hiring manager is, but then personalize the contents, like I'm applying for the customer services position that you had advertised on Seek. I believe that I'd be the right applicant because I've got this experience, this point that you've asked for, this point that you've asked for. When I see those sorts of cover letters, I say, yeah, that person's really paid attention and has read the advertisement. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Jo, did you want to tackle that?
Yeah. Sorry, there's a few coming in there now,
Yeah.
so I'll just look at one that I see now. So I'm on a student visa and allowed to work 20 hours per week, applying on Seek, but still no positive. For yourself, I would recommend temporary positions. Temporary positions are normally are quite flexible. So we, as the recruiter, are able to talk to the clients and let them know what hours you are studying and what hours you're available. So certainly looking at temporary jobs compared to permanent full-time jobs is the best way to go. And we can talk to clients about their flexibility and what hours and days you can work. And generally clients need temps. So, the hours that you can do we'll talk to the client about that. So temporary jobs for sure.
Yeah. And I think just to add to that from my sort of 2 cents worth, if you've got like set days that you're available, say, look, I'm available, every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, from this time to this time. If that's going to be an every week thing, that is perfect for us to be able to work with, because we can then go to our client and you can say, look, we've got somebody who is, I was on a student visa, so they're able to work 20 hours a week. They're available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on these times every week, forever and ever. Can we facilitate that? And chances are they'll say yes, because to have that guarantee that they're going to have that person there for those certain days of the week is exactly what they're looking for. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And just in regards to the question about CVs going through a computerized screening process, no, we look at all CVs individually, go through all the applications. In regards to dates, it's for us, it's understanding the reasons for overlapping or what's the situation. I mean, a CV only paints a little bit of a picture, but it's not until we get to talk to you and screen you for the role that we can understand the dates better. So we look at every CV.
Great. I see, Richard, you've got a couple of questions in there, so I can certainly help you with those. So how do we see volunteer work history and volunteer work and building your work history? Very positively. I think anyone who's so interested and passionate about doing a job that they're happy to do that on a volunteer basis, to me shows their passion and that dedication. So I think that's fantastic, and certainly would recommend that you highlight that on your CV, especially if that aligns with your career goals moving forward. So hopefully that helps you out there, Richard. And you did have another question in there that you've been recently laid off a job, but it wasn't your fault. How would you approach that situation? For me, in a nutshell, honesty. Just tell it like it is. Again, as Drake consultants, we're here to help you in any way that we can. We're not here to judge you. We're not here to, cast any aspersions over what your work history has been. We're here to work with you however you are at the moment that you come to us. So have a chat, have a discussion. Let's decide together what that next move looks like for you. And we're really also happy to speak to our clients about that scenario as well. If you're a little bit nervous about that, we've got really great relationships with our clients. We can say to them, hey, look, we've got Richard. He's unfortunately had not the greatest experience in his last position. He was unfortunately let go because of whatever reason, but we believe that he's got this and this that he can offer you as a new employee, and we want to make sure that Richard has a really positive experience in his next role. So we wanted to be honest with you about the circumstances about leaving the last one. So I hope that does help you with that question, Richard. Awesome. And I think we've got Francis there.
Francis.
Yeah, I think do we see difficulties in older people getting work in an administrative capacity? I guess my opinion, my thoughts in a nutshell, like that sort of administrative space has really, really evolved over the last probably 10 years. With technology advancing the way that it has, I think people and organizations have a lot more ability to do things for themselves, as opposed to needing, like a manager needing an administrator to do something. Well, actually, gosh, they've got this phone that can actually do all of that diary management and all that for them. So we see roles like, PAs, receptionists, those type of roles that, sort of 10, 20, 30 years ago were, everywhere and very readily available, those roles are really now evolved into sort of hybrid positions, or, where somebody is not just doing a receptionist role. They might be doing reception, but also a little bit of customer service, or, they're doing PA work, but also a little bit of office management or something like that. So those roles have really evolved, and that's just the nature of our market, and like I say, of technology being what it is. The best advice that I could give you would be to make sure from that technology standpoint that you are up to speed with what the current climate looks like from that administrative field, and but also make it clear to any prospective employer that you're willing to learn, you're willing to put in the extra effort to be able to upskill, and as we all know, YouTube's a wonderful thing to be able to learn how to do just about anything at the moment. So I definitely recommend that you would look into that avenue as well. Hopefully that helps you.
Okay, I will just jump in because I know we're a little bit over
Oh,
time.
yes.
Thank you
Sorry.
so much to everyone for joining today. And a huge thanks to Odette and Joe. I do appreciate there are some questions that have not been answered, but perhaps what we can do is we'll reach out to those individuals directly, and Joe and Odette can connect with you offline
Sure, of
to answer
course.
any questions that you
Yep.
may have as well. Now, again, thank you so much. Some key takeaways for me, and I hope that you all had some takeaways too. Try to personalize those cover letters as much as possible. If you can avoid that dear sir or madam, that is ideal. And your volunteer work can be great experience on your CV. It's a really good takeaway. So again, thank you so much for your questions and your engagement. And to
Yeah.
Joe and Odette and everyone, have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Alexandra. Have a good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.